Hey everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everyone, Cantonese Cat here. I want to do a video about MicroStrategy to go simple MSTR. I did one earlier this morning, but it was of poor quality, so I decided to just delete that off YouTube and just to make another one to justify for that, because I really do want to talk a little bit more about this stock. It's important to talk about. Very hot stock. It's been going parabolic over the last 2 months. Really has been going up a lot since more than a year ago, since January 2023, when it really bottomed during the last cycle. And it's been hitting the gates. It's been going a lot further than anybody would really truly expect at this point of the cycle, including the fact that it's really been outperforming Bitcoin, including the fact that it's been way outperforming other crypto-related stocks, including Coinbase, including a lot of the miners, even the most bullish miner that's been going on over the last few months, CleanSpark, including Bar, including Bitfarms, including Riot, including all the other stocks. So everybody has been sort of, focusing on MicroStrategy. They were trying to figure out whether or not they should chase MicroStrategy based on this bullish momentum, whether or not this huge up candle right here could represent a potential parabolic top or blow off top, if you will, whether or not it's going to keep on having continuation. If it is going to keep on having continuation, it's just going to go straight up. It's going to go back down and test some support before going up. Those are very, very valid questions. The first thing I do want to point out, though, is that MicroStrategy during the last cycle, it was an early riser. The other crypto-related stocks didn't really rise up that fast until later on. But MicroStrategy really was very much of an early riser. It outperformed a lot of other things. And it topped here in February 2021. It had a big, huge wick above, went all the way to, $1,315. And then it closed the month back down here at 750. Went up a little bit higher the next month with the candle body, but never really quite make that high until this past month. Did Bitcoin top on February 2021? The answer is no. Bitcoin kept going. This is February 2021. It had a little bit of a strong wick above, but Bitcoin kept going for 2 months, made a higher low, and then it kept going up in October, in November. In November, it made a higher high, and that was the last cycle top. But if you look at MicroStrategy, it was just completely exhausted. I mean, like over here, it's just I think what happened a lot of times is when you're looking at the leveraged Bitcoin play, like MicroStrategy, some whales they're going to start pumping one thing before they pump another, and they're just going to keep on switching liquidity from one place to another, just pump different things at different times, try to make the maximum amount of gains as much as possible. And I think what happened during the last cycle is the MicroStrategy is one of those that they've chosen to go ahead and just pump up as fast as possible, and then all the liquidity got sucked out of it, and they really started pumping everything else, including like Bitfarms, including HUT, including everything else, Mara, later on. And unfortunately, MicroStrategy just never really made a higher high. It just kind of hit this big distribution top right here, and it just kind of fell down. I wonder whether or not the same thing's going to happen this cycle, whether or not this so far we've just been pulling a tremendous amount of gains so far, and we're already pulling a lot of gains forward. And when the cycle starts to getting towards the middle, late part of it, of the bullish cycle, MicroStrategy may potentially be a significant laggard at that time, and may even have a hard time getting the liquidity back into it to pump it up further. Now, with that said, do I think that the cycle ends here for MicroStrategy? Heck no. I mean, I think that it's probably going to go up a lot higher. How high is it going to go? Who knows? Can it go up to 5 digits? Who knows? I'm not here to tell you what is going to happen. I'm just here to tell you what I saw from last cycle, what that could potentially transpire in this cycle. And I also want to show you a few indicators to kind of tell you in terms of what I'm thinking too, whether or not we're a little bit overextended, whether or not this is the top, whether or not it's, what to expect. I'm not here to try to tell you, give you advice on how to trade. I just kind of want to let you know what to expect, because it helps you to think for yourself. Now, one indicator, I'm just going to put the black hat indicator here. Huge buys, by whale inflow. Huge buys and whale inflow over here too, and it just kept going up, 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 up. So far, no signs of exhaustion. It still seems like inflow is still coming in. Now, inflow can be exhausted any time. We never know when that's going to be. But so far, there are no signs of it. Inflow is still rolling up. Another indicator, now that indicator isn't really particularly too helpful in terms of telling you whether or not we're a little bit overextended or not. It just basically tells you, yeah, I mean, overall, it looks like the bull trend is still ongoing. It doesn't look like it's being exhausted or anything like that quite just yet. Now, another thing I like to pull up to see whether or not there are any signs of exhaustion is the RSI. Now, if you look over from like 2021 peak up to now, you do have a bearish divergence here, but like that's so delayed, I'm not even gonna worry about that. What I'm looking at here is really, are there any bearish divergences over here so far at this bull cycle? And the answer on the monthly is no. Price go up, RSI goes up. There are no signs of exhaustion in terms of having any clear bearish divergence. The answer is no. Are we being overbought here? Yes. Can it stay overbought for a very long time? Yes. Can it even go up a lot higher to like the 90s? Yes. When the RSI resets, as the RSI keeps going down and keeps making these potential lower highs, can price keep going up? Yes. So even if you see a trend exhaustion, which I'm not seeing right now, there's still potential for price to continue to go up a lot higher. Right now, I'm not even really seeing any trend exhaustion based on looking at RSI. So I can't say that the trend is exhausted. As opposed to here, you can see that once the price got to here, in about 2 months later, price kind of went sideways, but the RSI just plummeted from the top. That's a bearish divergence right there. That's a bearish divergence right there. But we're not really seeing that over here. I think we still have ways to go. The other one to kind of show you in terms of what to expect, look at the Bollinger Bands. It does look a little bit overextended, doesn't it? But one thing is the Bollinger Band just got expanded like crazy just about 3 months ago. We have just kind of barely started with this. The 20-month moving average has just started to curl up and just started to accelerate. Over here, you had the Bollinger expansion over here, sure, and within a few months later, MicroStrategy end up topping. Could end up doing the same thing and just go for another few candles right here and just end up topping, even though Bitcoin could keep going up higher for longer, even though the other miners may start having liquidity being shifted to them after the halving, after RWM potentially have this big green candles. Can MicroStrategy end up lagging behind and actually further and actually have more distribution earlier than the other crypto related stocks and then Bitcoin? Potentially. But right now, there's no trend exhaustion. The 20-month moving average is just pointing exponentially up right now. The candle that we have so far this month has closed is still touching the upper Bollinger Band. It's not way above in space. Now, when the price closes way above the upper Bollinger Band, it does get me worried whether or not there's going to be a significant pullback over the next month. Maybe even wick down real hard before its bullish continuation. How far is it going to wick down? I don't know. We'll see how far the upper Bollinger Band is for next month. So far, the upper Bollinger Band is at 1130. Next month, the upper Bollinger Band could potentially be higher, maybe in the 1400s or so. And the next candle could potentially be opening and could wick down to 1400, 1300s or so before bouncing up and make another green candle. You know why I say that? Because that's what happened last time, right? The monthly candle we got way above the upper Bollinger Band. It is still touching it, but it needed the next month to wick down pretty hard and close above the upper Bollinger Band, but it still had to respect gravity and wick down real hard. Next month, touching the upper Bollinger Band went way up, and then the cycle top went way outside the upper Bollinger Band. The next few candles because it's just way too far, way too fast. The next few candles really trying to respect gravity and try to touch the upper Bollinger Band over and over again. As a result of these monthly candles over here, as a result of it going sideways, the upper Bollinger Band starts to squeeze again. And as a result, the 20-month moving average start to roll over a little bit. And that was kind of beginning of the end of the last cycle for MicroStrategy. You're not really seeing that. You don't have the... This is really the first candle that's like really closing way above the upper Bollinger Band. I think this is maybe equivalent to something like that. So you might still have a few months of really impulsive price action that can keep going up a lot higher, or even longer, because last cycle it really, to be completely honest, it really wasn't that impressive. You have a little bit of a double top for Bitcoin. Bitcoin did make a higher high in November, but it really wasn't, that impulsive like a lot of people was kind of expected. A big part of the reason you can blame it on inflation, you blame it on the Fed, you blame it on liquidity crunch, you blame it on a lot of things, right? But a cycle is a cycle. It doesn't matter how it ends, it doesn't matter how it starts. This cycle, if you have to look at the equivalent to the last cycle, I think the equivalent candle may be closer to here. Now, how far does it go down again? I think it depends on how far the upper Bollinger Band is about to push the next month. So we'll see. I do not know yet at this time. But it's starting to get a little bit far out from the upper Bollinger Band, so it does make me think that there's a potential pullback, at least a wick, that can go all the way down to maybe even like 13 or 1400 potentially. This is the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly. I wanted to show you the monthly Ichimoku cloud and also kind of show you a little bit about the history of the stock the last cycle too, and how the last cycle, why I think this candle over here is very similar to this candle over here, is because of this. The Ichimoku cloud, as you can show here, this is a cloud, right? This thing looks like a cloud. The cloud can serve as either resistance or support. And the Ichimoku cloud analysis also gives you two lines. It gives you a leading line, which is the Tenkan line. It gives you the lagging line, which is the Kijun line. And when the Tenkan gets above the Kijun, it's when you have a really nice bull trend. A lot of times when Tenkan gets above the Kijun, they actually fuse together and get really, really close, and that's when a very, very parabolic bull trend can happen. That's what happened last cycle. That's also kind of when you see. That's kind of also what happened this cycle too. You have a bullish cross right over here, in around December of 2023, and then what happened here? It really started. It just kind of fused the entire way here. It didn't really have like a bullish cross per se. The bullish cross was probably here, and it just kind of fused and just kept going up. Over here, what happened? It spent months number 1, 2, and 3 trying to break above the Ichimoku cloud. Over here, what happened? It spent months number 1, 2 to break above the Ichimoku cloud. On the 4th month over here, in the last cycle, it broke through and went parabolic. On the 3rd month here, it broke through on this cycle and went parabolic. But I really think that this candle right here was not, as impulsive as this one right here. So I think this candle right here is probably the equivalent to like the additive between these two candles over here. Price ended up closing way above the Tenkan and Kijun. The Tenkan and Kijun right now is about 1150, about 1060, somewhere around there. And price closed this month at around 1700. So it's way above that. Now, next month, I think the Tenkan and Kijun is going to be a lot higher. How much higher, I don't know. It could end up being around like 1400s. And it could potentially serve as a support. The further the price is away from the Tenkan, especially the red line right here, but really both. The further away the price is from both of these lines of the Tenkan and Kijun down here, the more likely you're going to end up potentially having a wick to try to back test them. Over here, it did that the next month after this parabolic candle over here. Next month, even though it's a green candle, can you imagine how brutal this wick was? It basically did a little bit of back test, at least to try to get pretty close back into the Kijun and the Tenkan line over here. So these lines do serve as gravity, but because of how parabolic it was going up, the Tenkan and Kijun went up real high anyway. It served as support to kind of push price even up higher, until it doesn't, until you have this big giant wick up here, and until you start having price just kind of looking very, very much exhausted in terms of the bull trend. I'm not really seeing that bull trend being exhausted. I do see price a little bit far above the Tenkin and Kijin here on the monthly. So I suspect that next month, most likely, there's a potential for it to wick down. Now, it doesn't have to do that. This is a parabolic bull trend. Price can keep going up in a more irrational way than you can ever expect. I don't expect anything, but I'm just not surprised if next month you end up getting a pretty brutal pullback and still end up getting a green candle here that feels the wake up here, kind of like what it did over here. I certainly think that's a possibility. Is that necessarily going to happen? I don't know, but that still seems like a possibility to me. I find it very unlikely for it to crash back down and back test the cloud here, because that would be a lot of technical damage being done. At most, I see maybe wick down to maybe like 1300 is my best guess. Again, it's a wick, it could go lower, I don't know. But I think if you really want to buy into MicroStrategy, there could be at least a few really, really good months that are coming. This is still a very, very powerful bull trend. You can chase, I think it's fine if you want to. This is not advice. But just know what you're getting yourself into. Know the potential risk levels are down below. Know what is showing you a bull trend. Look for whether or not there's any longer term bearish divergences, and just be smart and be collected about it. Don't be emotional about it. That's all I gotta say. If you're gonna buy a stock like MicroStrategy, you're basically needing to mentally prepare yourself for a lot of volatility and pain, and the pain can come on for years and years and years. Now, with that said, if you look at the weekly to try to explain how come you had this bad candle over here, if you look at the weekly, the price just went way far above the weekly Tenkin and Kijin, and price basically just wanted to spend a week to get closer to it. It didn't even back test it. That's how bullish this is. It didn't even touch it. Could it go back down and touch it again in like around the 1300s? Sure, I think it's possible. It's rising though, so I think these are going to serve as pretty decent support. Can price close lower than that for a few weeks before bouncing up again? Sure, that's also a possibility. But I think I see a confluence of potentially, around 1300, 1400 being very, very good support. And the price actually makes sense. It went parabolic, 1, 2, 3, and it had to kind of bring it back down to gravity a little bit. It did that for a little bit last week. This week it tried to have a bullish continuation, but again, because of gravity, it just ended up being pulled down over here. This does look a little bit like a shooting star top. And, this looks a little bit like a shooting star top. This looks a little bit like a gravestone top. So these are potentially bearish candles. So am I surprised if next month we end up, opening out here and wick down to 1300s, bounced, and end up closing higher for the month? Sure, I think that's certainly a possibility. I'm not being deterministic. I'm just kind of basically showing you what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing, what could happen. And that what I mentioned was just a scenario. It doesn't have to happen. Regardless, to me, it almost doesn't matter. I think the strategy is going to probably keep going higher for longer, for like the next few months. Is my best guess, at least. But you have to know the short-term volatility, and the short-term volatility can be very, very brutal. What happened over the last week? Well, price simply got way above the upper Bollinger Band and got brought back down to gravity. This big giant candle over here, the green candle over here, really helped expand the Bollinger Bands up and down. Right now you have a very, very nice parabolic bull trend. The 20-week moving average is pointing very, very nicely up. It has been pointing up for a very long time. It's just got accelerated. I think this bull trend is probably going to end up keep going for quite some time. But price has to respect up a Bollinger Band. It cannot get too far. And when it does, it's going to end up coming back and trying to back test it. And when that happens, it can feel very painful. This week, it tried to close back above, but the upper Bollinger Band continued to serve as a magnet, dropped the price all the way back down in here. The Bollinger Band expands, which is going to allow price to keep going up, but that takes time. While the Bollinger Band expands, the Bollinger Band is going to serve as a magnet. It's going to have a hard time to try to go fight against gravity over here. When you try and do something like this, you're going to end up being put back in your place. And when you have enough of these candles being put back in your place, you can go down further and test the support before going back up. That's just kind of how it goes, I guess. I do want to say this. I'm not a very smart cat. I'm quite dumb actually. I like looking at patterns. I like pattern recognition. I like to verbalize things. I like to share my ideas. None of the things I'm saying are necessarily going to be the absolute truth. Things can deviate from a lot of things that I say. But when I say I see pattern recognition, I see pattern recognition. I think we're getting close to maybe the midpoint of like a strategy bull cycle, even though I think Bitcoin bull cycle is not at the midpoint yet. This right here, this three candles right here, is really reminding me of some of these candles over here, based on where it is on the parabolic bull trend. But Bitcoin's not quite up here yet, really. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just sharing you my thoughts. Please, if you see anything, if you disagree with me, feel free to disagree with me. As long as you're not being too deterministic, like this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. Like that's not how it works. And if you make statements like that, I'm just gonna ignore you. But I would love to hear any alternative ideas, why you think things would be the way you think it's gonna be, why you disagree with me. I welcome that. Please go to X, talk to me. I'll try to get back to you. Not DM, but just write me a comment or tag me on your posts. Anyway, been over 20 minutes. Thank you for listening to my MicroStrategy thoughts. Have a good one. Bye.